What's up, bros and hoes, whatever floats your goat? It's your boy Relentless, and today I am bringing you yet another build video straight from the Division. As the ongoing onslaught against Alpha Bridge continues to burn, I tried to think of it in a different aspect, and rest assured, I could pretty much say, not with all certainty, but with some. That the more or less four-piece alpha talent or skill that is baked into there, which is two of the same weapon types. As long as they're used at the same time, then they have 6 talents. That'll be kind of reworked, either from a standpoint of a reduction in those talents themselves, or more or less just requiring more firearms, such as to unlock certain things. As far as the 4th and 5th talent, or they'll just do away with the 6th talent on, in the free slot that's on your secondary when running the 4-piece Alpha Bridge. Hell, they could even, go with doing what they did with Striker, at first. The little 5-piece, Alpha. So that way you have to sacrifice either Specialized, Savage, Tenacious Mask, or such as like the Bear's Chest Piece. Certain things like that to try to, more or less equal it out. But enough about that. It's plastered all over social media as far as all Division forums and communities and all over YouTube. So I did a video on that. Go check that out. It was a day or two ago. It was Alpha Bridge, Death of Division, question mark. So if you have any thoughts or ideas, go check out that video. But anyways, we're going to jump straight into this build video. Sorry for the late upload. Currently, I've been having a little bit of health issues, and the Wi-Fi here at the hospital in my room doesn't exactly, well, pretty much, it's on life support. More or less. I know that's a bad pun for my position, but I'm optimistic. But anyways, the Wi-Fi sucks here, so yeah, it takes like 2.5-3 hours just to upload one video. Luckily, I had some family to bring my PS4, so at least I can do somewhat, even though with like the lagginess and whatnot. That's why I haven't really uploaded any PvP videos in the Dark Zone or anything like that, just due to that simple fact of, the sucky internet Wi-Fi here, and just the lag issues dealing with it. So without further ado, let's just jump right into this build and forget all that other mess. But as you can see, I went with 3 Predator's Mark and 3 Alpha, thus the Alpha Predator. On my chest piece, 1262 in stamina, really good roll, with a little over 6,000 health, 1241 armor, and ammo capacity. And like I say in all my build videos, if it is possible, you want ammo capacity on your minor attribute on your chest piece and backpack. If you can't have that, at least have one of them in your minor attribute slots. That way it helps with the ammo issue. But since, this is not a 4-piece Predator, it's not highly dependent upon having lots of ammo when trying to PvP. Or, if this also works in PvE. But in the mod slots, I have 256 firearms, 269 armor, 261 firearms, and 268 armor. Moved on to the mask. The mask, yeah, I kept getting crappy rolls, but I was wanting to stack as much crit hit chance as possible here. I tried out different combinations. As you can see, I have an Alpha Bridge mask that has skill power instead of crit hit chance. So I decided to go with the extra, 46 armor and the crit hit chance over the skill power here. But as I accumulate more funds, I hope to continue to re-roll those firearms as much as I can to at least achieve that 1200 mark at the very least. Hopefully, it'll be close to this one right here on my Alpha Bridge. As you can see, 1264, which is really, really great. And the burn resistance in my minor attribute slot comes in nice and handy. It'd be even better if this was enemy armor damage. That would make it even more potent in PvP. But, you know, if you're able to roll that and you have good main stat, then by all means you would want enemy armor damage in the minor attribute spot. Moving on to the knee pads. 1266 in stamina, another good roll. 1243 in armor with increased kill XP, disorient resistance, and enemy armor damage. The sticky flash is more or less back when it comes to, you know, 4-man squads. You know, sticky flash so they can't heal, focus them, and pretty much they're down. So that comes in really nice. Instead of increased kill XP, which comes in nice at PvE side of things, but in the dark zone on the PvP side, burn resistance, just, you know, bleed resistance, any other thing besides increased kill XP would pay off handsomely better than this increased kill XP. And in the mod slots, I have 237 firearms, 279 armor, and 6% first aid self-heal. Moving on to the backpack. Really good stamina roll on this one as well. 904 in armor with another 16% burn resistance for all those pesky flame turrets that are out there. Usually you run into either them or seeker mines. So EDR, some form of type on any piece also works out really well. But burn resistance plus the other 16%, that's 32%. You know, it doesn't help much 32% wise, but it does help. And in the mod slots, I have 261 stamina, 271 armor, and 5.5% first aid self-heal, and another 5.5% first aid self-heal. Moving on to my gloves. I have Alpha Bridge gloves, 1271, really good firearms roll. Unfortunately, it's a lower armor roll than my Predator's Mark gloves, and that I'll show you here in a second. But you try to want to get your mask and your gloves, the base armor on them as close to 1001 as possible, because that is pretty much the absolute max. And then I have the 10% damage to elites, crit hit chance, and assault rifle damage. Now I could easily switch to these, which is a little lower in the firearms category, 1251, but still really nice. SMG damage, 5.5% crit hit chance, and 15% crit hit damage. Now if I had better gloves, this would make this build even more potent. I mean, it says 342 DPS, but that's a more or less a base and guideline to go by, but not, you know, based on nearly as much on fact as actually how much damage you're actually dealing out. So never go by, you know, whatever weapon mods you can throw on or whatnot just to see that DPS number climb, because you don't want to base a build around just what looks good. It might look like a Ferrari, but the engine might be from a Pinto, and, you know, it just doesn't work out that way. Yeah, it looks really nice, really flashy, but gets you nowhere. But basically, on any pair of gloves, you want the weapon type of choice that you'll be running, crit hit chance, and crit hit damage. That is the trifecta, the trinity, on what you would want on all gloves. Moving on to the holster. 1267 in firearms, 1267 in stamina, 1266 in electronics. As you can see, great rolls all the way across, and 637 armor. And in my mod slot, I have another 6% first aid self-heal. Now, as we all know, the talents for the current Alpha Bridge, 2-piece is 100% health regen, and the 3-piece is 5% weapon damage. Now, I was sitting here debating and thinking on, you know, I want to somewhat try to incorporate, you know, at least the 3-piece alpha some way, somehow. There's different variations that you can also try out, such as like 3-piece Banshee. And the reason I say Banshee, you know, and 3 alpha is for the, you know, extra damage you get for, you know, targets out of cover. Which does come in really nice, and if you like PvP, the losing of, you know, no funds or whatnot also comes in somewhat handy in the dark zone. But if you don't care none about that, then it won't really matter. And, you know, we all know the talents for the Predator's Mark, which is 10% reload speed, a flat base damage bonus of 8% of assault rifle damage, and SMG damage. And as you can see, I have an assault rifle and SMG, so it works out really great with this build. So that accumulates to a total of an additional 13% assault rifle damage or SMG damage when combined together. Now let's move on to the weapons. Starting out first with my secondary, which is the converted SMG-9. 17.5K base damage with Unforgiving, Vicious, and Fierce. Vicious is not great here on the second slot, but it's better than it being in the free slot. But at least if you're the one that's popping off first, that's getting, the bullets off first and inflicting damage first, then this comes in nice and handy. But as the battle, wearies on, or you don't down them, quickly, then it just is dependent upon, you having 2 health segments or more, to have that increased by 10% your crit hit chance. So another good one here would also be like responsive, such as on this MP5, which is responsive, brutal, and deadly. Deadly isn't all that great at the moment. The just 15%, base extra crit hit damage. So Unforgiving would be a lot better here. But, Unforgiving does kind of, I wouldn't say go hand in hand with more or less Vicious, but they're kind of like counterparts in a way. Just to the simple fact of, you might be losing crit chance as your health drops below 2 health segments, but also your damage is increasing, as you go through the stages of 1, 2, and then into your third bar of health. So, they can walk side by side, but, it's kind of like a give and take relationship, You're giving more crit, and then you're taking damage, and then you're losing crit, and then you're giving more damage. So it's a give and take. But we'll move on into the mod slots. I have a magazine size, crit hit chance, and rate of fire. Optics, 6.5% crit hit chance, 3% crit hit damage. I do have other options here. I could go with crit hit damage and headshot damage. Crit hit damage, crit hit chance, and headshot damage, which would be more or less the, I say the right play, more or less here. But I was going more for a crit hit chance build. And as you can see, I'm getting 3.5% more crit hit chance with the reflex sight. But it is, a purple. And if I can find one for this that actually will fit and is better than, the ones I currently have, then anything is in your optics. You want crit hit damage, crit hit chance, and headshot damage. You want to stack those 3 in your muzzle and in your optics as much as possible. As you can see here, just like this Tyrant Suppressor, which is 7.5% crit chance, 5.5% headshot damage, and 4% crit hit damage. Moving on to the AR, 20.8k base damage. And keep in mind that's not incorporating the flat percentages that you're coming off your gear. I'll show you that here in a moment in the range here, because it says 20.8, but you're really doing a flat base of around 22, 23k, and that's without crits. And with crits, I believe my SMG is around hitting the body for 30 and the headshots around 60. So works out really nice. But I have Vicious, Responsive, and Destructive. There's currently a nice M4 in the base of operations, I believe, that has really nice talents. You can roll off I believe the first one's Dominant, to something that's more along your playstyle. So if you need a lightweight M4, go check that out. I have one actually down here with Brutal, Responsive, and Fierce. I plan on trying out both of them with this build. Responsive on an assault rifle at this current time, it's better to have something else in the slot, such as, once again, Unforgiving, just because the simple fact of responsive. And if you're using an assault rifle, you're not going to be really, 9 times out of 10 within that range, unless they're all up in your face and they're running SMGs, or like my boy Raging Merc is doing, running a golden build, more or less majority of the time, with a shotgun glass cannon build. And with only his health and toughness being below 275k, he still has a lot of survivability just due to movements while PvPing. And like it always, if you're an avid PvPer or you just got the game for Christmas and you're new to the Division, welcome. I hope this may help you out. You'll be able to get your, I guess your hands dirty, so to speak, or dip your hand in the cookie jar before, massive, takes it away after you take one bite of that chocolate chip. But basically, you want to make your build conform around your playstyle. Such as, you want to think about strategy and tactics, use your nades wisely. If it's a 1v1 kind of situation or whatnot, you can use your grenades to your advantage. If you have the short bow knee pads, which shortens the fuse time, which is basically you toss it and you got pretty much like a half second or a second, one count more or less, and then the grenade goes off, so they don't really have time to dodge out of the way. But if you're unfortunate not to have short bow knee pads, then you can always throw a grenade to the left or right of them, and they're not going to sit there and take that damage, because if you're not running on EDR on anything or two-piece final measure, then you're going to take significant damage when using grenades or getting hit by one. So while they duck out, if you throw it to their left, and then they're going to move right, so you can pre-aim to your right and go ahead and start pre-firing, so that way they run smack right into your bullets. So that way, they're taking damage regardless, and they're not really thinking too much. And also, if you do it that way, if they're still in the blast radius and taking damage from your weapon immediately when they're trying to evade it, works out really well. So that way, they're taking damage from either side. But yeah, try to be strategic. We'll get into the mod slots. 101% magazine size, crit hit chance, 4.8 rate of fire. On the LBOAC, you don't necessarily need the rate of fire here. It already has a decent base damage RPM. I find it easier to control, but you can also switch it up for other things if need be. Instead of the rate of fire, crit hit damage works out really well. But if you have the recoil pattern down and know pretty much, it's just like the FAMAS. Every gun's a little different, especially when compared the FAMAS to any other assault rifle, just because of the recoil pattern. Usually it's always vertical, but on the FAMAS it more or less just goes everywhere. It's like trying to piss in the toilet, and you're just spraying it everywhere, instead of actually, ringing your hole. But on your large optics and your large muzzle, just like I said before, and on my SMG, you want the trifecta, which is headshot damage, crit chance of crit damage, like you see here on my large optics and on my large muzzle. And on my muzzle, as you can see, another 18% headshot damage, 4% crit damage, and 3% crit hit chance. Now let's go over to my character sheet. As you can see on my AR, I have 28% crit hit chance, 52% crit hit damage, and 111% headshot damage. I'm doing 44.5% enemy armor damage, which if you take that number and divide by 3, that will equal out to how much enemy armor damage you are doing on the PvP side. My survivability is 54.8% weapon damage mitigation, which is really nice and handy. That's pretty much the sweet spot. You want to be at least 53 or higher, the highest you could possibly go, and you want to roll armor on your backpack, chest piece, knee pads, and holster, and in every mod, on every mod slot that you can actually put it in. And none of this other stuff really matters. So that you always want to go based off your character sheet and not exactly what your DPS number says, because as you can see, DPS on my SMG9 is 296 versus 342, which is not really that much of a gap. It all depends on the way you mod things, and reload speed, magazine size, rate of fire also plays in heavily when it comes to things such as your DPS number. Certain things that shouldn't really pay that much of a factor into that number, but it actually does. As you can see, a crit hit chance is 37% on my SMG9 with 82% crit hit damage and headshot damage at 61%. And the enemy armor damage is only 11.5%. So if you have destructive on this piece, weaponry, or on more of your gear, such as like my mask, instead of the burn resistance, that number will actually increase. And though it may only go up an additional 3%, that 3 to 4% actually comes in really nice and handy, and it gives you a little bonus when it comes to PvP. But let's move on, and we'll show you what damage it outputs. All right. So I'm critting for 31.8 in body, base of 17.4, and that's with the SMG none. Now with the LVOA, body shot without crit 22.8, and critting to the body at 34.7. A headshot 48k without crit. And then almost 60k when it comes to critting headshots. Over 28k without crits on the head, and 42.5k headshots that are crits to the head with my SMG not. Play around with different forms, different variations, different builds. Like I said in other videos, like the one I mentioned earlier in this video, there are different things, and it's an ongoing debate on what will be happening in the not so near, but really near unforeseeable future of Alpha Bridge. It's an ongoing discussion. It'll be interesting to see when the PTS and the ETF start up next month, the 13th. That's when the ETF Elite Task Force starts at Red Storm Studios in North Carolina. And then we can start actually getting possibly little hints and tricks or tips on what to expect, and then we'll have the 2-week PTS. Then we'll actually be able to see firsthand and test out the different formulas that they actually come out with, and hopefully if it's not spot on or perfect and they don't nerf it into the ground like they did other builds such as like Reclaimer or Deadeye or Sentry or other things like that. But everything should have a counterpart, a way to counter any tactics. And then it all comes down to playstyle, because in most PvP engagements, everybody just usually tries to face tank somebody, and when they reach like into like their third health segment or whatnot, or half of their health, then they actually want to dodge, and they have no head movement. Think of a boxer, head movement in this case, head movement to a boxer would be more like strafing, and when it comes to PvP engagements. So you want to work on your strafing left to right. You don't never, ever just want to just stand still somewhere like in the middle of a road or just anywhere. And especially if you're solo, because people will take advantage of that in the dark zone, like the one-shot sniper builds that are out there, or just anybody. They'll just come up behind you, shoot you in the back, especially if they're solo, and then they'll just take off running. Just for the simple fact of they want the XP and the DZ funds, for killing you and getting off their timer. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Like I said, I apologize for the late upload. I'm doing my absolute best to bring you more and more and better content. I have links in the description below if you want to help with that, but it is not necessary. I just appreciate all of you subbing and viewing and liking my videos, and I like engaging in the comments with my subs and viewers of these videos. So if any suggestions or anything that you'd like to see, or anything that you'd like to see, or if you want to issue a challenge to me or my team that I play with on the day-to-day basis usually, let me know in the comment section below. I hope you guys have a great and awesome new year. Happy New Year's Eve, everyone. 2017 is incoming, and I see a lot of great things coming for this game. There's so many possibilities out there that can make this an awesome game. And at least everything is seeming to go in the right direction, and we've survived 1.3. 1.4 made it so much better. 1.5 we still have a little tweaking here and there, and then maybe this 1.6 patch will help that out and make it like how the night and day was of 1.3 to 1.4 as we transition into 1.5 into 1.6. So great things are coming, rest assured. And hopefully more in-game content. And this Kenyer guy, he was in the story, but apparently there hasn't been no showdown. But I'm pretty sure that the in-game content will be on its way shortly in The Last Stand, and we'll find out more about that in the future. But thank you guys so much. Sorry for the long video. Sorry for ranting most of the time, but I tried to explain as much as possible. And I wouldn't say necessarily dumb things down because I'm not an articulate or necessarily smart person, but more or less I'm just like the average Joe. So I explain things in a way. Pretty much, I'm the Dr. Seuss of the division, I guess you could say. But anyways, thank you guys for watching. Please ground and pound that like and subscribe button. And like I said, Happy New Year's to everybody. And